ISTD is computer science with design. We are facing three problems. One is we have too much data, right? With too much data, how do you have a system to handle that? We have fake news, trustworthy systems is very important. And last is actually you want a system to be sustainable. So ISTD is essentially will build systems that serve these three challenges. One really good example is a smartphone. If in a smartphone, you have computing chip, you have applications, you have connectivity, software, hardware. So for example, you have an AI chip. What does the AI chip? AI chip actually optimized in a way that to serve you better, understand your behavior, recommend services to you. The curriculum builds on actually three main concepts. One is computing, intelligence, and system implementation. Essentially with these three, you handle data, you talk about security, and building a system which is sustainable. We have 6 tracks. One of them is data analytics. So in the data analytics tracks, we build a curriculum to train students how to actually deal with the data they capture in different format, how you process it, how you analyze and understand it. The second track I'll elaborate a bit more is security. Besides handling data, you want to ensure your systems is secure and trustworthy. What is actually unique in the ISTD pillar, we have iTrust, we have actually a water test bed, we have a smart grid test bed, we have IoT test bed. So students actually can study on one hand and actually work on hands-on project with actual real test bed experiences. So in this track, you have the opportunity to learn about blockchain, system security, cyber physical security, data mining, machine learning. ISTD pillar, we train students, computer scientists, but we have a design thinking philosophy. So why is this important? Computing is an integrated part of many systems, applications, product. But it's just one part. If you have the system perspective of looking at things as a system point of view, essentially your value increases. We have graduates actually promote in different parts of career very fast. Why? Because they look beyond themselves as a computer scientist. They can bring in design perspective, they can bring in system perspective, and put everything as one. And that's important, that makes our students unique. I have a graduate, she went through the ISTD curriculum. She was not good in programming, but 3 years down the road, she came back one day. She's a VP of a top banking company. Then what makes her really what she is today is the environment. The environment trained her the tools, gave her the confidence that she really can create anything which is possible. Hi, I'm Professor Tony Kwek. I'm head of Information System Technology and Design Pillar. If you want to become a computer scientist with design innovation, come join us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tony Kwek, the head of Information System Technology and Design Pillar. Welcome everyone to ISTD live talk and discussion. So in the following time, we have arranged for you panel discussion and Q&A session. So to kick off, I will briefly go through what ISTD pillar is about. So ISTD pillar is essentially a computer science and design pillar. So the aim of what we are trying to do is to ensure that students acquire a strong foundation of computing knowledge, and we focus on 3 important aspects: computing, systems, intelligence. So we have the flexibility to allow students to interact with engineering disciplines in a creative manner. So if you look at the curriculum, the courses in black are the core courses. So these are exactly the courses that at MIT students, EECS Computer Science has taken. So these are the basics. The red classes are the electives, capstones, and humanities and HAS. So for the core modules, we have 5 of them. So these are the very basics of computer science. Introduction to information system programming, computation structure, algo, element, software construction, computer system engineering. So this will be what you can find in any computer science curriculum. What is exciting is the electives. So when you go to electives, we have the tracks that is actually customized for students, basically based on their interests. Data analytics, fintech, visual analytics, computing, AI, security, IoT, intelligence systems. I'll go through them quickly in a while. So in data analytics track, so our focus is actually to train students to evolve around 3 main activities: data capture, data analysis, and data exploitation. Because a lot of data will come in every different forms and scales, right? That requires different capture, storage, access. So we want students to prepare to go through all this so that they actually can be hired in careers in wide range of industries. So modules like machine learning, computation, data science, database, and so on. The AI track, what AI track is going to focus on is the really fundamentals mechanism to enable construction of intelligent systems, which is the key. A lot of systems with intelligence, we want our systems to be run autonomously, learn from experience, and plan actions. So courses like machine learning, AI, deep learning, courses that we will train students to acquire. Fintech is another important area because our financial industry was undergoing a lot of changes by introducing advanced computing technologies. So we want to ensure students can be higher in this industry. So fintech combines the technology from big data, analytics, mobile computing, and fintech. So for the financial classes, they can take in our engineering system design pillar in ESD. Security track is a very important track as we move towards our nation of smart nation with a lot of data. Essentially, we want to ensure that all our data is actually secure. So we want students to actually develop state-of-the-art knowledge of computer security, network security, cyber security technologies. And the students really have the luxury to actually play with really test bed in iTrust, cyber physical test bed. So these are the modules related to security. IoT and intelligent systems, another track that we develop state-of-the-art IoT and intelligent systems because this will support our smart nation, right? So advanced knowledge on collection, storage, processing. Important modules like cloud computing, IoT, how to exploit cloud computing to get IoT, distributed systems, and computing. And the last track is visual analytics and computing. Why this is important? Because the use of visual data is, we're going to have a lot of use of, because of cameras, the use of a wide range of cameras for image, video, shapes. You actually can do a lot of synthesis, analyzing, rendering. So this is another track that students will require: computer vision, graphics visualization, user interface, and implementation. So this is a brief look at what our faculties that are trained across all around the world. So they are experts in their own areas. Right, our employment, students are actually employed across many industries all around the world, both locally and globally. So today we have two guests guest speaker or panelists from the industry. They can just share their knowledge on there. And students also get accepted in top graduate schools around the world, Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, MIT, and so on. What is exciting is actually students can actually have the opportunity to work with world-class scientists and actually apply their AI knowledge across many industries with facilities that we're going to build in the AI infrastructure center. And that's what I have for ISTD pillar. Then we will kick off with the panel discussion. So before we kick off the panel discussion, I will let the panelists do a self-introduction. So we can start with Sun Chia first.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lim Sun Chia. I'm currently the Director for Cybersecurity Engineering Center at the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore. I'm responsible for security engineering of emerging technology, as well as driving standards and research developments, and also building up assurance capability, which includes like pen testing, product evaluations for CSA. Related to my role as for the product evaluation, I'm also the head of the Cybersecurity Certification Center, which is one of just 18 national certification bodies worldwide that actually can certify IT security products that's recognized and actually issue a certificate that's recognized across the globe. And one of the latest initiative that we have was the cybersecurity labeling scheme for IoT consumer products. This is one first of its kind scheme of such schemes in Asia Pacific. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Eng Hui. So I am leading the technology planning division in IMDA. So the main part of the work that we do is to look at emerging technologies and understand what are some of the key trends, and of course trying to foresight future demands. And I think a lot of time we spend time thinking about what sort of tech should be important for our industries. And part of the work we do is to actually develop the science and tech plan that will guide the industry needs for the next 3 to 5 years. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Monica. I'm a cybersecurity consultant at Ensign InfoSecurity, and I specialize in digital forensics and incident response. So I graduated from SUTD in 2018. I've been in the workforce for about 2.5 years. And in SUTD, I specialize in cybersecurity too. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aditya, and I'm proud to say that I'm an SUTD pioneer. So I'm from the first batch of graduates from SUTD. Of course, I graduated from the ISTD pillar. I run an education technology startup by the name of Kodomo, where we focus on delivering delightful educational experiences by building products centered around design thinking and computer science. I don't know where I got that. Yeah. So of course, I guess we got the bug, from SUTD and the unique pedagogy over here. And I've been running it full time right out of SUTD for over 5 years now. Thank you.
So thank you, the panelists. So we'll kick off the panel discussion. So I think we will start with something close to our heart, but the pandemic. So with the current pandemic, we have seen a major shift, right, in many disruption in our industries, in our work life, across many sectors. And we actually seen a really increased push of digitization. A lot of us work from home. Remote collaboration is important, video conferencing, work late at night, and so on. So I just want to kick off to hear from the panelists. Can you just share some of the changes that have taken place in your company or industry, and how you'll see this will be like in the future?
Okay, perhaps I can start it off maybe at the industry level and at the national level. With the onset of COVID-19, well, instead of expecting things to be grinding to a slower pace, even to a halt, right? Actually, things have actually been firing up. The tempo of digitalization, in fact, has been catalyzed by this whole pandemic and has accelerated at actually a very quick pace. So COVID-19 actually has amplified the need for digitalization, sustainability, as well as cybersecurity, and as well as resilience, and along with it, actually, the importance of cybersecurity. And unlike when we first started quite a number of years ago, there are actually two key paradigm shifts that have occurred over the course of the past years. First, cybersecurity actually has gravitated from the peripherals actually to the core, from the back office to the boardroom, and actually it has become a core business risk, as well as a key element of great importance in our digital transformation. Secondly, there's a realization that actually cybersecurity is not all about gloom and doom. It is also about boom. I mean, there's a lot of, it is not about incidents, about threats, about risks, but actually there's also a lot of opportunities that we can capitalize to grow our digital economy. And with Singapore embarking on our next phase of development with Smart Nations as our future, really IT IT security and cybersecurity has become important with smart nations as our future. And many people have come to realize that this is of core importance. What does this mean really? I mean, this means that actually there's an insatiable needs for talent in this area. So this is the best time actually to join this domain. And for the startups, actually there's a lot of demand and a lot of space for new ideas in these emerging areas.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure. So just maybe sharing a little bit on the workplace practices. I think for now we have been working from home pretty much for almost 10 months now. Can't actually believe it. But I think this also signifies a new normal. I just wanted to touch on what does that mean. We know that there are going to be a lot of winners and losers in the pandemic, right? As we can see, what are some of the big winners? I just want to touch on that more than the losers. We see that there are going to be ever increased needs in digital communications, for example, e-commerce, of course in pharmaceutical, because there's a need to seek for new vaccine, which we have some now. And gaming, why so? Because the way in which we actually spend most of our life now is at home. And this is happening not just here, but across the world. So I think the ramifications for what we think about in terms of industries and some of the startups that we are working with is how can you actually capitalize on some of these changes and turn them into opportunities? I think if we are really looking at trying to grow successful startups, the key is really to learn how to pivot and identify some of these waves that you can ride on. And I believe definitely we will see a more interesting narrative moving forward.
Monica, have anything or?
Yeah, so just two things on the workplace practice as well as the changes for COVID in the cybersecurity industry itself that we feel. For workplace, as consultants, we used to travel before COVID. So right now, I haven't seen my clients face-to-face for 1+ years. And currently, all of the projects are done rather remotely or through electronic. Whereas for cybersecurity industry right now, I think, as what Mr. Sunchia said, is quite booming because there's also attacks starting to appear with the opportunity for remote work. There's more as companies just started to be more digital. There are opportunities for recent attacks. Yeah.
So I guess I bring maybe a SME/startup perspective to this, and so personally, like our business model has really evolved and transformed, over the past year and a half, where previously we were focused a lot more on face-to-face trainings and workshops and things like that, and that's completely flipped now, and we are more a product-centered tech company. There's this meme going around, like who is the driving force behind your company's digital transformation, and it's not the CTO or the CEO, it's COVID-19, right? So I guess that's the silver lining of all this, because in every industry across all verticals, like despite your company size, like be it startup, SME, or an MNC, you are required to move with the times. And I think that's sort of the silver lining in all this, where everyone has become a bit more efficient because they are forced to, and work from home has its pros and cons as well. But as what's already been said by both the industry speakers, I think there's a lot more opportunity here. And I think if anyone can teach you how to turn lemons into lemonade, it's I guess it's the mindset, and it's that what is inculcated in SUTD. Yeah.
Thank you, Adia. So I'm going to continue along this line of pandemic, right? Because it's close to our heart. So we talk about reinvention. So we see there's a lot of reinvention in industry, reinvention in workers. So definitely, what we foresee is that the future graduates or people you want to hire needs to have new skill set to adapt to all these changes when we return to the new norm. SUTD has actually reinventing all this education for the past 10 years, and the process is still continuing. We have a distinctive pedagogy on design. We talk about collaborative learning and hands-on multidisciplinary focus on addressing real-world problems. So how do you feel SUTD and ISTD education has prepared you for this pandemic? Actually, we didn't expect this. So maybe Monica and Adia can share with us.
All right. So yeah, that's a good question, and it's a tough one actually. But it's also crystal clear in my head, you know. So I think, so me being also me running a startup, I deal with a lot of unknowns, and you have to have that appetite for, you know, just taking risks. And the pedagogy of SUTD is really about how to make data-driven decisions in unknown situations. So I think when you're doing something that is on the lines of innovation, right, you're finding an unknown solution to an unknown problem, which is exponentially more difficult than, you know, doing a problem sum. And that's sort of the big leap, you know, in a mindset that is required in this day and age, regardless of, you know, who you are. And innovation isn't done by, you know, a select few people. It's not any certain person's job. I think it's everyone's job to innovate as, you know, we go along with this new normal. So I think on that line, I think that's where I guess the SUTD curriculum, especially in ISTD, to me is like very close to heart, because it's the hard skills meeting the soft skills, right? Where you need to know how to do something, that's the skill set, but you need to have also the mindset to use that to connect it to what is needed out there in the world. And that's what separates inventions from innovations, right? Inventions, you can invent something new, but people may never find a need for it, right? And innovation, whereas innovation is something new, but it directly connects to what people need. And I think really making that distinction and really understanding the process involved behind innovation is what I have learned through SUTD.
I think maybe just to add a little bit to that, what I remember most about being in SUTD is there is a high amount of projects that were introduced to us and as part of a curriculum. And I think it really trained and helped us in terms of being very resourceful, of gaining information, as well as trying to facilitate the projects itself. So throughout the pandemic, I think me and my friends who are from SUTD, sometimes we share about the changes that's happening to our workplace. And for us who are kind of more trained to be more resourceful, we reach out to people more, and we also try to solve the problem in a more rigorous manner. So I think that's what I appreciate more about SUTD.
Thank you. I just want to add a point on this. Is I think what's important is that a lot of this, let's say, computer science curriculum can be found in all the other AUs. But what makes this place distinctive, we have graduates like Adia and Monica, is the people and what they believe. With the right attitude, everything is possible. I think that's what makes this place unique. So if you come here, everything will be possible. So the next important question is about employment, right? So graduates have employment across many industries. And software, whether it's Google, Facebook, IBM, whether it's local in Singapore or overseas or in US, government, DSTA, GovTech, CSA. In finance, JP Morgan, KPMG, Citi, even IMD and CSA, we have graduates that actually work in there. So this question is to the industry. So do you see any distinct attributes of our graduates? And how do you see them different from graduates from other AUs? I know it's a tough question.
So if I may comment on this, right? Just keep it very succinct. I think the obvious distinction, in my opinion, is the problem-solving skills, And also, one of the panelists said about innovation, I think that's also quite prominent. And as well creativity, because I think without the mix of these three things, probably the way in which a problem gets tackled will becomes a little bit more long drawn. So that's my observation.
It is still early days. I think we still have just a number of SUTD graduates that join us. In fact, they are still currently in a CSDP, what we call a Cybersecurity Professional Development course, which actually is to actually even deepen, further deepen the graduates, basically new or recent graduates, in terms of cybersecurity experience, so that actually to actually narrow the gap between the academia as well as in the industry. So perhaps I will answer this question from a different perspective. Basically, in terms of my observation of SUTD over the years, basically, I think the university, as I sense it over the years, actually offer two very unique value proposition. One is in its academic excellence and the great facilities you see here in SUTD. And one of the example is in OT research or operational technology. If you come here, you will see in their iTrust lab, replica of actually water plant, basically water processing and water distributions, as well as an energy power processing plant. And even the foreigners who actually come and visit were really impressed with such world-class research facilities inside actually a university itself. This has actually seeded good research as well as outcome, as we are even the startups, as we are actually exploring the translation of some of these research outcome into the actual water plant itself. I'm also pretty proud of SUTD to be recognized as one of the 5th most influential university in the area of telecoms. Yeah, and that's of course that's none other than by the professor himself. So really proud of that, because actually we have a very small group of researchers in this area, and I think going forward this is definitely a sweet spot, a very important area that we want to build our capability in for 5G and beyond. Yeah. The second value proposition is really it's a very unique interdisciplinary and design approach. What does that mean? That means really that students are exposed to this very innovative, the innovation and research methodology and experience actually right from a very early stage. One of these examples is, and they are very close to the industry, being just next to one. There's this great initiative on Changi Innovation Hub, which I think the university tie in very closely with the aviation sector, the healthcare sector, and the urban development center. So these are the very unique experiences that actually you will see and you'll find yourself if you come to SUTD. And I think that really is a unique experience that you will enjoy.
So I'll also direct questions to our graduates. So because they can share what they have gone through. Maybe I start with Monica. So you've gone through the education SUTD, ISTD pillar. So how do you see that education or that process help you in your career, and how you prepare yourself, and how do you see yourself distinctive in this whole your career path?
Yeah, so I think I remember what I appreciated. One of the things I appreciated most with SUTD and ISTD is that we have the iTrust, and we have power plant and also water treatment, that are kind of open for students to explore and do research in. And I remember when I wanted to specialize in cybersecurity through my third year and fourth year of university, third and a half year of university, I expressed this to my professors, and they were very open in exploring this with me and suggested ways to boost my resume and also improve my skills. So from early on, even before I joined the workforce, I was already introduced to cyber physical systems and how to be hands-on in the operational technology environment. So I spent some of my time with the researchers and PhD at the iTrust Center and to test out some research and also try to hack their systems. So all these kind of helped me to stand out in my resume at first, and then afterwards I could relate like this opportunity that I had in SUTD in my workplace. And also, of course, as I mentioned, the project-based that train us to be resourceful also help in always reaching out and also always trying to improve ourselves. I think those are things that help me in the current industry.
Thank you. Adia?
Yeah, so all these words that you're reading behind, they're not just words on the screen. I think it's really exemplified by, SUTD and ISTD. Creativity, passion for technology and design, multidisciplinary risk-taking. Of course, no one can teach you all these things, but you will be, deeply embedded in an environment that encourages this, and you'll be surrounded by people who are like-minded. And that's really what fuels the fire, right? I would not be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for the people I met in SUTD, because we were the right kind of crazy people, right? And it's just that we gelled together really well, and no one sets out to do entrepreneurship. Like, it's not something you have in your mind. Like, I just decided that, I want to take this risk and I want to try and do this, because if not now, when will I do it? And it's really about connecting those dots, and thinking laterally, and all those things that, like I said, are written up there. And you will definitely be encouraged and be exposed to doing all these things. But I guess ultimately it really comes down to what you decide to do with your time here.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about academics, so I just want to, before I end this panel discussion and go to the Q&A, I just want the graduates to talk about your non-academic life, right? Because I think as a university or as a university students, it's not just study. I think there's a lot of things that you can learn throughout your university life. Maybe you can just share your experiences at SUTD, what makes it memorable, and something you can just be proud of.
Yeah, sure. So this one will be more candid. There's this golden rule. It says work, play, or sleep. You only can choose two. So I chose work and play. So most of my first year was pretty sleepless. In my time in SUTD, I was involved in a lot of different things. I was being the first batch of undergrad students in SUTD. We had the responsibility and also the freedom to define what SUTD was going to be about. And we were given a lot of freedom, and a lot of rules were sort of like, bent while we were doing it, because I guess that's our job to sort of, push the envelope and see how far we can go with it. And there was an immense hacking culture, but to be more precise, I co-founded the SUTD soccer team, the SUTD bands, and I was also one of the founding members of the SUTD brewery. So we were a bunch of just passionate about brewing. And I don't know how it happened. Actually, I do know how it happened, but it's a long story short. We eventually secured finances from the university and managed to centrally control the temperatures in the biology lab to ferment our brew. We were not allowed to drink it on campus, but it was strictly experimental at that time. And when I used to meet my peers from NUS and NTU, they were like, oh yeah, we don't really know about the school, but we've heard that there's a brewery inside your school and it's actually legal. I was like, yeah, it's sort of in the gray area, but yeah, you're right. So we were, given, like I said, it's the environment. Like when you're surrounded with such people, and you're sort of given like the go ahead, but don't make this so public because we can't really be associated with this. People brewing beer on campus. Yeah, so like it's just that kind of environment where we really had that freedom to explore and see how far we could push the boundaries.
Yeah, I think Aditya mentioned work, play, and sleep. I chose work and sleep. Unfortunately, I didn't play much. I'm kidding. I think SUTD, I remember when especially the first year, there was this culture that you can start anything, right? So that's why Aditya was a founder of many things. I tried this CCA called Live Sing, so it was like a combination of singing and dancing, but I stopped. So my first year was a lot of trying of different clubs, and I think that's why I liked also, because from there I get to know many different people too, and it's something that I might not see in other unis at that point of time, because there's a lot of crazy ideas being executed and you can just join. But I also remember outside of work, maybe in my last year of uni, I formed close friendships with people who are in my capstone. So our last year of university, we have this final year project that spanned for 1 year, and my team chose to be more on the entrepreneurship module. So we also kind of came up with like a startup for 1 year, and that's like basically my whole life for that 1 year. And that was very fun, and we get to pitch to different companies as well as government bodies about our project and idea. And yeah, I think SUTD also allowed us to be as daring as possible, and also had the network to introduce us to companies and even government bodies to dream as big as we can. And that was a learning experience. I mean, right now I'm a corporate person, but it's one of the days that I could exercise my entrepreneurship dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just to add on to that, I mean, that's exactly how I started like doing what I do as well. It was through the capstone program. And I think it's really, really exciting to be able to be given the opportunity and the freedom to, come up with, to self-propose a final year project with people who you select and you want to do it with them. So that's an excellent opportunity, and I mean that's how I started doing that. Also, I want to clarify that we used to. This was in the old campus. Like all my brewing stories were in the old campus. Now it's against the law. So in the old campus, our hostel was a HDB block, and the legal limit is 300 liters per household unit. So we used to brew inside the house. So it was always legal.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So I think we will go for the next session. The next session is on the Q&A. Okay, so we have a question. So I noticed a track available in this pillar exchange. While a few other engineering has the focus of pillar shifted, and if so, how? So I guess I will have to answer this question. So I think one important sort of uniqueness about ISTD curriculum is that it adapts with what the industry needs, right? So we see that there's a lot of, because of, for example, computer engineering is very general. So our idea is that instead of just computer engineering, if you look carefully, actually we have divided into very precisely on IoT and intelligent system, which is one class, right? Because there's a lot of industries that is important to create a lot of talent for Smart Nation related, to support our Smart Nation initiative. So that's one. And also visual analytics. In fact, visual analytics and computing is also related to this. So what I want to share is that it's not the focus of the pillar shift. the focus of the pillar is always will adapt to what the industry needs. So I think we want to train our students to work on problems, the real world problems that what the industry needs, and to prepare them, not just for short term, but for long term. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to echo what Prof said. And actually, I thought it's important for the university to keep up with what is needed. I think I noted there's quite a bit of addition on emphasis on the AI. And indeed, as we pursue smart nations with the proliferation of AI, that's really an important area. Two big challenges there. One is that everything is claiming to be AI. So we need to make sure that there's no snake oil. And the other one is, as a result of the advent of adversarial AI, we need to make sure that these AI are more resilient. So these are really challenges, and I'm glad that actually the university actually keep up to such a trend.
May I add a student's perspective to this? So, being part of the pioneer batch, this is like what, so I matriculated into SUTD in 2010, right? And we had none of this. We didn't even have a campus. So I decided to join it just based on the vision, right? And all my peers did as well. So we were the more risk-taking batch, I guess. But as we have seen how, you know, the university has been like a startup as well, right? So it's been just developing and really growing. And the way I see how ISTD has developed is really just like literally blossomed, right? Because we didn't have so many pillars, we didn't have so much choice. And in fact, part of me is envious, right? Because we didn't, I mean, Monica, you may agree, right? That we didn't have this many choices, you know, while we were in SUTD. So I think it's definitely, of course, it's, I would not say it's shifted, it's evolving. And it has to evolve with the times. And Monica, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the cybersecurity track, right? So I noticed also there are more modules added, and that definitely will add value, like system security. We didn't have that when I studied, and yeah, it's something that's definitely industry needs right now.
So next question, maybe. What are the differences between the AI track in ISTD and DAI? I think if you think of ISTD, as I mentioned, it's a computer science curriculum. So when you come in as a computer science curriculum, you learn the basics of computer science computing. Then you have a choice essentially to go to specialization. AI is one of the specialization where you look at computing algorithms, fundamentals related to AI. DAI is a different program. It's a different program that look at how to use AI as a tool to drive design innovation, whether it's in products, whether it's in services, whether it's in space, or whether in systems. So it has a more general curriculum that look at application of AI. If you are interested more on the computing aspects and trying to understand the algorithm of the AI, ISTD, but if you're more interested to look at, essentially, I want to use it as a toolbox. I want to use it as essentially a tool to apply across different industry as a designer. Then I think DAI will be the place for you to go. Yeah. So this is mainly the differences. It's for Monica.
Okay, so why I chose SUTD against other program at another university. Yeah, so I think I also mentioned during the panel discussion about the iTrust, and also I think the infrastructure itself. I kind of have an inkling that I wanted to do cybersecurity, and back then, 2017, I think, cybersecurity, 16, around that time, it wasn't emphasized as big as it is right now from our Singapore government. So yeah, I remember there wasn't much buzz around cybersecurity and also computer science actually at that point of time. So SUTD kind of laid out clear cut, hey, this is what we have, this is how we can make you skilled, and also the type of modules that we will introduce to you. And also, of course, the iTrust itself is a big pull for me to stay in SUTD, to choose SUTD. Yeah, so I think it's quite self-explanatory itself in terms of IS and cybersecurity.
So maybe I can just add on what Monica's. So this is a common question. So whether you want to go to another AU, which is a lot more specialization, or come to SUTD where the first year freshman is a bit more general education. At the end of the road, when you see a lot of changes, for example, the pandemic, it requires both specialization and also this general perspective, the systems perspective. For example, the humanities perspective, the social problems, the economic problems, and how the technology can couple together. So this is very important so that whatever technology you develop, it really makes sense, people will adopt it. Right? So I think that full package can be found in SUTD where it makes the difference if our curriculum, our program compared to the other AU. Is ISTD closer to computer science or computer engineering? As I mentioned in the beginning, it's a computer science and design, right? So why we have this design? Because if you look at a conventional computer science, it's all about a so once we have this design, this will be sort of our general team that can connect with, for example, other engineering applications, other engineering pillar, the humanities aspect. So I would say ISTD is actually closer to computer science. We do have courses on hardware. And to be frank, the difference between computer science and computer engineering in all the other AUs is very vague now. It's almost the same, the courses you find. So I think what's important is not the name itself, but to find AU that provide you with the right curriculum, the environment, the end goal you want to achieve, right? I think that's the most important question that prospective potential students should ask. Can they, so maybe I can say first, then maybe the industry speakers can add. Yes, yes, they can get into top companies. Like we have graduates in Google, Facebook. In fact, I think few weeks ago, we have a graduate that is he's hired in a Google team in US. He's now actually work from home in Singapore. You know, now you can actually work from home, and he actually have a Zoom meeting with me because he has an offer of he's going to do a PhD studies in top US schools. So he got offers from Cornell, Georgia Tech, the top schools. So he was discussing whether he should leave Google for PhD and so on. So we do have really graduates that work in top companies, whether it's Google or Facebook and so on. And to do some advertisement, we're going to have a class called Service Design Studio in September together with Google. So the whole idea is to train students to develop an end-to-end software system, to have that experience and using Google platform. Yeah.
So maybe just to reiterate, right, I think the foundational skills of problem solving and creativity and innovation, I think, as I said before, the nexus of this makes you very employable. So if this is the top of the mind, I think as long as you remember that most of the time, what important is the implication of technologies, right, on what it can bring, for example, to either the end users. That should be how you look at things rather than understanding, okay, whether is it supposed to be looking at the other way around. So I think to keep it short, this is definitely a yes for me.
Which programming languages will students at ISTD mainly work with? The freshman year involves a lot of Python, so coding in ISTD will be mainly Python based as well. Actually, it's not Python. In fact, Python is required not only for ISTD students, it's for all our students, freshmen. When you come to ISTD, you will involve Java, and we're going to have new, in fact, a new track that's coming out of software engineering. So you have C++, and there's other programming languages. At the end, it's not the programming knowledge. I think what is important is your algorithmic design your fundamentals in the core classes. Languages change from time to time, but once you have the fundamentals, you can adapt. That's what most important. Thank you all, those who are online, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the session, and if you have any follow-up, please visit our website, and thank you all the panelists for their time. Thank you everyone, and keep safe.